The courtroom was full. People whispered. Some looked angry. Some looked confused. At the center sat a woman. She wore simple clothes, plain white shirt, black pants, old shoes. No makeup, no jewelry, just calm eyes and quiet hands. Her name was Maya. No one knew much about her, only that she was on trial, and that the man accusing her was powerful. His name was Mr. Raza. Mr. Raza stood up. He wore a shiny blue suit. His watch looked expensive. His voice was loud and sharp. "Your Honor," he said, pointing at Maya, "this woman is dangerous. She worked for my company. She stole from us. Millions." Gasps came from the people watching. The judge, an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, looked at Maya. "Do you have anything to say?" he asked. Maya stayed silent. She looked straight ahead, not at the judge, not at Raza, just forward, like she wasn't afraid of anyone. The silence felt heavy. Mr. Raza smiled. "Look at her, Your Honor. She says nothing because she has no defense. She thought I wouldn't find out. But I did. She sent fake invoices. She took the money and ran." Maya blinked. Once. Slowly. No anger. No panic. Just silence. Her lawyer, Amir, leaned toward her. "Maya, say something. Please. The court needs to hear you." She shook her head gently. "Not now," she whispered. Amir looked worried. But he trusted her. He had to. Something about her eyes, so steady, so strong, told him this was no ordinary woman. Raza showed the court papers and photos, a screenshot of emails, bank transfers, security camera footage, all showing Maya entering the office at night. She hacked the system, Raza said. She knew how to hide her tracks, but not from me. The judge studied the documents. "Maya," he said again, "if you are innocent, this is your chance to speak." Still, Maya said nothing. But her eyes, they said something. Not fear, not guilt. They said, "Wait, watch, you'll see." Among the people in the courtroom sat a man in a brown coat. His name was Detective Zubair. He watched Maya closely. She sat too still, too calm. He had seen this before, not in criminals, but in soldiers. Something about her hands, how they rested on the table, open but ready. Something about how she scanned the room without moving her head. He leaned forward. There was something more to this woman. Something hidden. Reza continued speaking. He walked around the courtroom like a proud man giving a speech. "She tricked us all. She used fake names. She smiled at everyone, and then betrayed us." He paused, then looked directly at Maya. "I gave her a chance, a job, a better life, and she paid me back with theft." Still, Maya said nothing. No tears, no anger, just one deep breath. Outside, it began to rain. Thunder echoed in the sky. Inside, the storm was silent, but just as strong. Everyone stared at Maya. Some believed Raza, some didn't know what to believe. But no one could understand why she wasn't defending herself. Suddenly, Maya leaned toward a mirror and whispered something. He nodded. He stood up. "Your Honor," he said, "my client will speak, but not today." The judge looked surprised. "Why not?" Amir said, "Because the truth takes time, and it's not afraid of waiting." The judge looked at Maya again. She finally turned her head. Her eyes met his, and in that one look, the judge saw something he could not explain. Strength, discipline, pain, and something else, control. He nodded slowly. "We will continue this case tomorrow." People started leaving the courtroom. Raza looked angry. Maya stood up slowly. As she walked past Zubair, he spoke softly. "You're not just some worker, are you?" Maya looked at him and said nothing. But for a second, just a second, she smiled. And then she walked out, quietly, slowly, powerfully. a stranger to all. But not for long. Because soon, the whole world would know who Maya really was. The courtroom was quiet now. Most of the people had left, but the tension in the air felt thick. As Maya walked out, people whispered to each other. What kind of woman would stay silent like that? Was she guilty? Was she afraid to speak? But one person didn't whisper. He didn't even look away. It was Detective Zubair. He watched Maya leave the courtroom. His eyes never left her. There was something about her, the way she carried herself, the way she walked like she had been in more dangerous situations than anyone in this room could imagine. He had seen that before. In soldiers, in trained operatives. But who was she really? The next morning, the courtroom filled again. The people were back. The judge, a man who had already seen many cases in his life, was starting to feel something strange. He had seen many criminals, some who cried, some who fought, some who shouted. But Maya, she was different. She wasn't pretending. She wasn't acting. She was just waiting. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as Maya entered. People stared at her, wondering what she was going to say this time. Was she going to admit her guilt, or was she going to finally stand up and prove her innocence? She sat in her chair, eyes forward, hands in her lap, just like the day before. Mr. Raza stood up again, his voice loud and confident. Your Honor, I brought everything to you yesterday. I have all the evidence to prove that Maya stole from me and my company. She hacked our accounts. She faked invoices. She tried to ruin my business. Raza paused. He looked directly at Maya, hoping to see fear in her eyes. But there was nothing, not even a blink. Maya didn't react. She didn't even look at him. The judge turned to Maya. Are you ready to speak? Maya finally stood up. She slowly walked to the center of the room, taking her time. When she stood before the judge, she didn't look at Raza. She looked at everyone else, at the people who were watching her, waiting for her to crumble. But she didn't. She took a deep breath and spoke. I am not here to argue, she said, her voice calm but strong. I don't need to shout. I don't need to lie. The truth is waiting to be seen, and it will be seen soon enough. Her words hung in the air. The judge raised an eyebrow. What do you mean, Ms. Maya? She looked at him, her eyes steady. The truth isn't something you can fake, she continued. It's not something you can hide behind lies. If you watch closely, you'll see it. Raza's face grew angry. He didn't like this. He had prepared for this case for weeks. He had planned every detail. The emails, the bank transfers, the video footage. He thought he had won. But now, Maya was talking like she already knew something he didn't. As Maya spoke, Detective Zubair quietly watched from the back of the room. He couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Raza had all this evidence. It looked perfect, too perfect. Zubair started looking closely at the photos Raza had presented. There were no clear details in the footage. The emails seemed to have been doctored, small errors that an expert could easily fix. He shook his head. This doesn't add up, he whispered to himself. Maya didn't speak again. She just stood there, waiting. The judge, unsure of what to do, turned to Amir, her lawyer. Do you have anything to add? Amir stood up and adjusted his glasses. He didn't know where Maya was going with this, but he trusted her. He had to. Your Honor, Amir said, my client has asked for one thing. Time. Just a little time to prove her innocence. The judge looked at Amir, then at Maya, then back at the court. Very well. We will adjourn for the day. Tomorrow, we will review the evidence once again. As the people in the courtroom began to leave, Zubair stayed in his seat. He wasn't going anywhere. He was sure now that something wasn't right. Maya wasn't a criminal. She couldn't be. Not with the way she carried herself. Not with the way she had handled herself in the courtroom. This was not the behavior of someone who had stolen millions. But if Maya wasn't guilty, then who was? That night, Maya sat alone in her small apartment. She didn't feel afraid. She wasn't worried about the case. She knew what she had to do. She had done it before. Her fingers gently brushed the edge of the necklace she always wore. Hidden inside it was a small device, a USB. It was the only piece of evidence that could turn the case around. The world didn't know who she really was yet, but they would. And when the truth came out, everyone would see. The next day, Maya walked into the courtroom once again. This time, there was a quiet strength in her steps. Raza was already there, looking confident, but as Maya walked past him, she didn't even glance his way. She didn't need to. The truth was on her side. And soon, it would be impossible to ignore. The courtroom was quieter today. The usual chatter had faded, replaced by the hum of people waiting for something to happen. But no one knew exactly what that something was. Maya sat in her seat, calm as ever, her eyes fixed ahead. Her silence had already begun to weigh heavily on everyone in the room. There was something about her, something people couldn't quite put their finger on. Outside the courtroom, the sky was a dull gray. Rain started falling, light at first, then heavier. Inside, the tension seemed to rise with each drop that hit the windows. Detective Zubair walked slowly across the hall. He had come to the courthouse earlier than usual today. There was something gnawing at him. He had spent hours last night going over the evidence again. He'd looked at Raza's photos, the emails, the transfer logs. On the surface, everything appeared perfect. But something didn't feel right. Maya's lawyer, Amir, stood by her side, flipping through some papers. They were preparing for the next round of the trial. But Amir knew, deep down, that something big was coming. He didn't know what it was, but he could feel the change in the air. Maya hadn't told him everything. She had kept some things from him. He trusted her. He had to. But there was a part of him that was desperate to know the truth, her truth. As the judge entered the room, the whispers in the court quieted instantly. He took his seat and looked directly at Maya. "Maya," he began, "before we continue today's session, you must understand that the truth is what we seek here. You have chosen to remain silent, but this court has been patient." Maya stood up slowly, her hands resting calmly on the edge of the table. She looked at the judge with steady eyes. "Your Honor," she said softly, "I know you want the truth. And I promise you, you will get it soon. But there are things you still don't know. Things you wouldn't believe." The judge raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her words. "What things, Ms. Maya? If you have something to say, now is the time." Maya nodded. She took a deep breath. And then, for the first time since the trial began, she spoke about something no one had expected. "You have no idea who I really am," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I'm not just a woman who worked for Raza. I'm not just a simple worker. I've lived a life you cannot even imagine." There was a pause, a long silence. The room waited. Maya's mind wandered back to a time long ago. A time when her life had been very different. The courtroom was now just a distant place in her memory. She remembered the feeling of the cold night air, the sound of boots hitting the wet ground, and the rush of adrenaline as she prepared for her mission. Years ago, she had been part of something far more dangerous than any office or boardroom. She had been a Navy SEAL. Maya's past wasn't something she liked to talk about. But as she stood in front of the judge now, she knew the time had come to reveal the truth. She had been trained to handle impossible situations. She had been trained to stay silent when needed, to think clearly, and to act swiftly when the moment came. But she wasn't just trained for combat. She was trained to read people, to see through lies, and to understand what others couldn't even begin to understand. The judge looked at her, clearly confused. "Are you telling us that you have a military background?" Maya nodded slowly. "Yes, I was part of a special operations team. I was trained to handle situations that most people would run from. I was trained to read people's behavior, to spot when something was wrong, and to stay calm when everyone else is losing their mind." She looked around the courtroom, her eyes scanning the faces of the people who had once doubted her. Now they were listening, hanging on to every word she said. Maya continued, "I was part of a team that went on missions in dangerous places. We saved lives. We worked in the shadows. But I left. I left because I had seen too much. The betrayals, the lies, the violence. I couldn't be a part of that anymore." The room was silent. People were stunned. They had no idea who Maya really was. No idea of the life she had lived. Detective Zubair, who had been listening quietly from the back, suddenly stood up. His eyes locked on Maya. His suspicions, the ones that had been building in his mind for days, were now confirmed. He had seen this before. He had worked with people who had been through the worst. People who had faced death and danger every day. People who had been trained to stay calm no matter what. Maya was one of them. "I don't need to prove my past to you," Maya said quietly, as if reading Zubair's thoughts. "But I can tell you this. I know how to see the truth. I know how to spot a lie from a mile away. And I know that Raza is hiding something." The room went completely still. Even Raza, who had been standing tall just moments before, now looked uncertain. Maya wasn't done. "I didn't come here to fight Raza for the money. I came here because he betrayed me. He used me. He thought I was just another pawn in his game. But I'm not. And I'm about to prove it." Raza's face turned red with anger, but he said nothing. The judge, however, looked deeply intrigued. "Maya," he said slowly, "if what you are saying is true, then we must take this seriously. But we still need proof." Maya looked at him with a small smile. "I have proof. It's hidden. But when the time is right, I will show it to you." As Maya sat back down, she could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on her. They were no longer looking at her like the accused. They were looking at her like someone who had secrets. Secrets they were desperate to understand. Detective Zubair felt a shiver run down his spine. He had been right about Maya. She wasn't just another ordinary woman. She was something more. And he knew, deep down, that her story was just beginning. The courtroom was buzzing with quiet conversations. People were talking about Maya's words. She had shocked them all, revealing her past as a Navy SEAL. No one had expected that. No one had expected her. As the judge called for a short break, the courtroom began to empty. The air was thick with questions. Who was Maya really? Was she telling the truth? Could she be trusted? But there was one person who wasn't asking questions, Detective Zubair. Zubair stood outside the courtroom, his mind racing. Everything Maya had said made sense. The way she held herself, the way she moved, like a soldier. It was all starting to fit together. He had spent his whole career tracking criminals, looking for signs of guilt, and he knew what to look for. But Maya, she didn't act like anyone he had ever met. She was different. And there was something else. Zubair had seen the way Raza had reacted. The anger, the nervousness. There was something in Raza's face when Maya spoke. It wasn't just guilt. It was fear. Raza was hiding something. Back inside the courtroom, Raza was pacing. His hands were shaking, his thoughts scrambled. He had been so sure of his victory. The evidence was perfect, wasn't it? Maya had worked for him. She had stolen from him. Everyone believed it. But now things were different. Maya had turned the tables. She had revealed a past none of them could have imagined. And that was dangerous. Raza's lawyer, Mr. Kadir, approached him. "We need to be careful," he said in a low voice. "We don't know what she's planning. She could be trying to manipulate us. She's already planted the idea that you're hiding something. We need to find a way to stop her." Raza turned to face him, his expression hardening. "I didn't think she'd be this difficult. She's not just a woman trying to save herself. She's playing a bigger game, and she's very good at it." Mr. Kadir nodded. "We'll deal with it, but we need to be prepared for whatever comes next." Maya wasn't worried. She knew what she had done. She had planted the seed of doubt in Raza's mind. She had made him feel like he was the one who was trapped. But that was just the beginning. She had already seen the trap Raza was setting for her, and she was ready to turn it against him. As the court resumed, Maya sat quietly in her seat, her eyes scanning the room. She could feel the tension building. Raza had already tried to set her up with his evidence. He had already made her look guilty. But she wasn't going to let him win. Her mind was sharp. Her training had taught her to always stay one step ahead. And right now, she knew Raza was about to make a move. The judge called the court to order. The room fell silent. Raza stood up, his voice cold and confident. "Your Honor, we have already shown the court that Maya is guilty of stealing from me. The evidence is clear. The emails, the bank records, the video footage. She's lying about her past. She's trying to distract us. But the facts are undeniable." He pointed at Maya, his finger shaking slightly. "She is a criminal, and she should be punished." Maya didn't react. She didn't even blink. She just watched him, calm as ever. The judge turned to Maya. "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Maya stood slowly. "Yes, Your Honor, I do." She turned to face the court, her voice steady. "Mr. Raza is right about one thing. I've been lying. I've been lying about my identity. I've been lying about what I'd done." The courtroom gasped. Was she confessing? Was this the end? But Maya wasn't finished. "I'm not the person you think I am," she continued. "I haven't worked for Raza for long. But I've worked for someone else. Someone much more dangerous." The room went silent again. All eyes were on her. "I used to work for a covert organization," she said slowly. "I'm not just a Navy SEAL. I've been part of a team that deals with situations like this. A team that goes in and makes sure the truth comes out. We don't play games. We don't lose." Detective Zubair was watching closely. He could feel the weight of Maya's words. There was something about her, something that made him believe she was telling the truth. He knew Raza wasn't just a businessman. He had connections. He had influence. But what if he had made the wrong enemy? What if he had crossed the wrong person? Zubair didn't know yet, but he was starting to piece things together. Raza wasn't just a man in trouble. He was the one who had set the trap. Maya took a step forward. "Raza doesn't want you to know this, but he's hiding something. The evidence he's shown you. It's all fake. It's been planted. I didn't steal a dime from him. But I know who did." The judge raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, Ms. Maya?" Maya turned her gaze on Raza. "He's not just a businessman. He's been laundering money. He's been hiding dirty deals. And I was sent in to find out what he was up to." Raza's face paled. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Maya continued. "He thought he could get away with everything. But the truth always catches up. And today, Raza, it will catch you." The courtroom was in chaos. People were standing, shouting. The judge banged his gavel. "Order. Order in the court." But Maya stood there, her eyes locked on Raza. There was no fear in her face. There was no doubt. She was ready for whatever came next. Detective Zubair stepped forward, moving through the crowd. He knew what Maya was doing. She was playing the game that Raza had started. And now, it was about to turn against him. Raza's face twisted with anger. "You can't prove any of this. You're lying." Maya smiled. "I don't need to prove it. You'll prove it yourself." Just as Raza opened his mouth to respond, a loud knock echoed from the back of the courtroom. A man stepped forward, holding a thick folder. The man was wearing a suit, but there was something about him that felt out of place. The man's voice rang out. "I have new evidence. Evidence that proves everything Maya just said." Everyone turned to look at him, shocked. The judge motioned for the man to step forward. He opened the folder and laid it on the table, revealing documents, pictures, and a series of bank records. The game had just changed, and Raza was about to lose. The courtroom was in shock. Everyone had turned to the man who had just walked in, holding the thick folder. His presence seemed to fill the room with more mystery. Who was he? What was he holding? The judge, still trying to maintain control, spoke up. "Who are you, and what is this evidence you've brought?" The man stepped forward, looking calm but serious. "My name is Inspector Hassan. I'm with the Financial Crimes Division. I've been investigating Raza for a long time, and what I have here is the key to everything." Raza's face turned pale. He looked like he had just seen a ghost. His usual confidence was gone. Inspector Hassan opened the folder and started pulling out documents, photographs, and transaction records. He placed each one on the table for everyone to see. "These are the real records," Inspector Hassan said, his voice steady. "Raz's company has been involved in money laundering for years. He's been using fake accounts to transfer money to illegal businesses. This is the proof." Maya watched carefully, a small, confident smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. She had known this moment was coming. She had known that the truth would eventually be revealed. She had planned this all along. Raza, on the other hand, was frozen in disbelief. He didn't speak. He didn't move. His eyes darted between the documents and Maya, but he couldn't say a word. Inspector Hassan continued. "These documents prove that Raza has been hiding money in overseas accounts. He has connections to criminal organizations. The money he's been laundering comes from illegal activities. And Maya was right. She didn't steal from him. She was trying to stop him." The room buzzed with whispers. The people in the courtroom were shocked. They had all believed Raza's story, believed that Maya was the one who had committed the crime. But now, everything was changing. The judge looked from Raza to Maya, and then back to the inspector. He could see the weight of the evidence. He turned to Raza and spoke sharply. "Mr. Raza, do you have anything to say in your defense?" Raza tried to speak, but his voice was shaking. This is impossible. I've been framed. All of this is a lie. Maya, she's just trying to ruin me." Maya stood up slowly. She had been waiting for this moment, and now it was time to speak. "Raza," she said, her voice calm but filled with certainty, "you're not going to get away with it anymore. I didn't steal from you, but you've been stealing from everyone. You've been lying, hiding money, and using your position to destroy people's lives." She paused for a moment, allowing her words to sink in. "I worked for you not because I wanted money, but because I wanted to stop you. I knew what you were doing. I knew you were dangerous. But now, the truth is out. You can't hide anymore." The judge looked at the inspector. "These documents are solid. I can see that, but we need more time to go through them. This is a serious accusation, and it involves more than just money. It involves lives." Inspector Hassan nodded. "We've already started an investigation into the other people involved. We will be pressing charges, not only against Raza, but against anyone who helped him." The courtroom was silent as the judge made his decision. "We will adjourn for today. The evidence will be reviewed thoroughly. Mr. Raza, you are hereby placed under arrest for financial crimes, including money laundering and fraud. You will remain in custody until the next hearing." As the judge banged his gavel, Raza's face twisted with fury. He had lost. Everything he had worked for was crumbling around him. His hands were shaking, his body stiff with anger and fear. He wanted to scream, to deny it all, but he knew it was over. Maya didn't feel sorry for him. She didn't feel anything. The truth had been exposed, and now it was time for her to move forward. She had done what she came to do. As the courtroom began to clear, Maya stood by her lawyer, Amir, who gave her a supportive nod. He had always believed in her, but even he couldn't deny how shocking this revelation had been. "Maya," he said quietly, "I didn't know you had planned all of this. You were right about everything." Maya smiled softly. "I didn't plan it all at once, but I knew something was off about Raza. I knew he was hiding something, and I couldn't let him keep lying." Outside the courtroom, the rain had stopped. The sky was clearing up, and the air was fresh. But Maya felt a strange sense of calm wash over her. This wasn't just about taking down Raza. This was about showing the world who she really was. She had been hiding in the shadows for so long, but now the truth was out. She had faced her past, and she had made sure that the truth came to light, no matter the cost. As Maya walked out of the courthouse, Detective Zubair approached her. He had been quietly watching from the back of the courtroom during the trial, but now he stepped forward to finally speak to her. "You knew, didn't you?" he asked. Maya looked at him, her eyes steady and calm. "Yes, I knew from the start, but it was a matter of waiting for the right moment." Zubair smiled. "You were always one step ahead." Maya didn't say anything more. She didn't need to. She had done what she needed to do. The rest would unfold on its own. Later that night, as Maya sat in her apartment, she felt a sense of closure. The case wasn't over yet, but she had done her part. Raza would face justice, and his empire would fall. She closed her eyes, allowing herself a rare moment of peace. She had finally won. The days after the trial were filled with tension. Raza was in jail, awaiting his next hearing. His once strong empire was now crumbling, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The documents that had been presented in court were irrefutable. His illegal activities were exposed, and the world knew the truth. But Maya couldn't relax just yet. She knew this wasn't over. Raza was dangerous, and even in jail, he had connections. She couldn't let her guard down. Detective Zubair had been by her side throughout the process, keeping a close eye on the situation. He had seen criminals before, but Raza was different. He was smart. He was manipulative, and he wasn't going to go down without a fight. Maya knew that Raza would do anything to make sure he didn't get sentenced. He would try to escape, try to bribe people, or even turn others against her. She had to stay vigilant. One evening, Maya sat in her apartment, reviewing the case documents once again. She had been through them so many times, but there was something about Raza's case that didn't sit right with her. There was still one last piece of the puzzle that she hadn't figured out yet. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Inspector Hassan. "Meet me at the station. There's something you need to see. It's important." Her heart skipped a beat. What was it? Was there something else that Raza was hiding? At the police station, Maya walked into the interrogation room where Inspector Hassan was waiting for her. The usual calm, controlled expression on his face was gone. Instead, he looked worried, almost anxious. "Maya," he said quietly, "we've been following up on Raza's connections. It turns out there's someone else involved, someone much more dangerous than we thought." Maya frowned. "Who?" Hassan handed her a folder. It was filled with photographs of a man she didn't recognize. The man looked like he was from a high society. His expensive clothes, his confident stance, he was someone powerful. "This man's name is Jamil Khan," Hassan said. "He's a businessman, but he's also linked to some of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the city. We'd found evidence that he's been working with Raza for years. Jamil has been funding Raza's illegal operations, and now we believe he's trying to cover his tracks." Maya's eyes narrowed. So Raza wasn't working alone. He had help. Hassan nodded. "Exactly. And Jamil is not the type of man who gets caught easily. He's powerful, well-connected, and he has people everywhere." Maya felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "We need to find him. We need to take him down before he makes his move." The next few days were filled with intense investigation. Maya, Hassan, and Zubair worked tirelessly to track Jamil Khan. They dug through every piece of information they could find. Bank records, hidden accounts, encrypted emails. But no matter how hard they worked, Jamil was always one step ahead. One night, as Maya was about to leave her apartment to meet Hassan, her phone buzzed again. It was a text from an unknown number. The message was simple, but chilling. "You're not safe. Stop digging." Her heart raced. She immediately called Zubair. "Zubair, I need to meet you now. Something's wrong." When they met, Maya could see the worry in Zubair's eyes. "You've got to be careful," he warned. Jamil has eyes everywhere. He's not going to let you get any closer to the truth. Maya nodded, her mind racing. She couldn't back down now. She had already come this far. She had to finish what she started. The next morning, the final hearing for Raza's case was set. Maya wasn't sure if Raza had given up or if he was still planning something, but she was ready for whatever came next. In the courtroom, the tension was palpable. The room was full of reporters, lawyers, and police officers. Maya sat at her table, glancing around. She felt the eyes of everyone on her. They were all waiting for the final decision. Raza was there too, looking broken but still defiant. His lawyer, Mr. Kadir, stood beside him, whispering something in his ear. But Raza was no longer the powerful man he once was. He looked defeated. The judge entered the courtroom and called for silence. "We are here today to deliver the final verdict on the case of Raza Khan. Based on the evidence presented and the testimonies of those involved, the court has come to a decision." Maya sat up straighter. This was it. The moment they had all been waiting for. Maya couldn't breathe. The message had sent a chill down her spine, and she knew that things were about to get more dangerous than ever. Raza was already behind bars, but Jamil Khan was still out there, and he had resources. He had power. And now he was trying to escape. "We can't let him get away," Maya said urgently as she looked at Detective Zubair. They were standing outside the courthouse, the bright sunlight mocking the dark thoughts in her mind. Zubair nodded. "We've got teams looking for him at the airport and around the city. But we need to act quickly. If he gets on that plane, it's over." Maya's eyes narrowed. He won't get away. Not this time. Inside the police station, the atmosphere was tense. Inspector Hassan was standing by a large map, pointing to locations with his finger. Maya and Zubair stood beside him, their eyes scanning the map, trying to predict where Jamil Khan might go next. "He's a businessman, right?" Zubair asked, rubbing his chin. "He must have connections with high-profile people. He'll try to use those to disappear." Maya thought for a moment. If he's trying to leave the country, he'd need a private plane or some kind of hidden exit. He wouldn't go through the regular airport security. Hassan looked at her. "That's exactly right. We've already checked all commercial flights, but there's one small airstrip on the outskirts of town. It's mostly used by private jets and wealthy people. If he's leaving, it's the most likely place." Maya didn't waste another second. She grabbed her jacket and turned toward the door. "Let's go." The drive to the airstrip felt like it took forever. Maya's mind raced. What if they were too late? What if Jamil had already escaped? The thought gnawed at her. Zubair was in the driver's seat, his eyes constantly darting from the road to the rearview mirror. He knew what was at stake. "We're almost there. Hang tight." Maya gripped the seat, her heart pounding in her chest. She wasn't going to let Jamil win. Not after everything she had gone through. She had to stop him. For her own sake, and for the sake of everyone he had hurt. When they arrived, the airstrip was quiet. The small building at the edge of the runway seemed empty, but Maya knew better than to think they were alone. Zubair parked the car at a distance, and the three of them crept toward the hangar. The lights were dim, and there was no sound except for the wind rustling through the trees. "Stay quiet," Maya whispered as they approached. "We don't know how many people are here." Hassan nodded, his hand on his gun. Zubair pulled out a small flashlight, and they moved in the shadows. As they neared the hangar, Maya could hear voices. Low, urgent voices. One of them sounded like Jamil's. "He's here," Maya said under her breath. She motioned for the others to follow her. They moved quickly, getting closer to the hangar. The voices grew louder, and soon they could make out the conversation. "Are you sure the plane is ready?" Jamil's voice was sharp, commanding. "I don't care what it takes. I'm leaving tonight." "Yes, sir. The jet's fueled and ready for takeoff," another voice answered. Maya's heart raced. They were so close. Jamil was about to escape. This was her last chance to stop him. She took a deep breath and motioned for Zubair and Hassan to get into position. They were all ready. It was now or never. As they stepped into the hangar, Maya felt the weight of the moment settle over her. This was the confrontation. This was the end. Suddenly, Jamil turned around. He saw them standing there, guns in hand, and his face twisted with shock and anger. "You," Jamil sneered, his eyes burning with fury. "What do you think you're doing? You've lost." Maya stepped forward, her voice steady but firm. "Not yet. You're not getting away. Not this time, asterisk asterisk." Jamil laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "You really think you can stop me? You're nothing. Just a pawn in a game that's over." Maya's eyes didn't leave his. "I don't think I can stop you. I know I can." With a sudden movement, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. It was a tracker. A GPS that had been planted on Jamil's phone when they had caught him months ago. "You were tracked the moment you planned your escape." Maya's voice was calm, but there was an undeniable power behind it. "You're not going anywhere." Jamil's face went pale. He reached for his phone, but it was too late. The tracker had already sent their location to the police. Suddenly, the sound of sirens filled the air. The lights of police cars flashed from outside the hangar. The reinforcements had arrived. "It's over, Jamil," Maya said, stepping closer. "You're done." Jamil's expression twisted into one of rage. He lunged for the gun at his side, but Zubair was quicker. In a flash, Zubair had disarmed him and forced him to the ground. The police officers rushed in, and Jamil was quickly handcuffed and taken into custody. The officers exchanged glances, unsure of what had just happened, but they knew it was over. Maya stood there, watching as Jamil was led away. Her heart was still racing, but she knew she had done it. The final piece of the puzzle had fallen into place. Justice had been served. As the police car drove off with Jamil, Maya let out a long breath. She had done what she needed to do. She had faced the truth, uncovered the lies, and stopped the criminals who thought they could get away with everything. "You did it," Zubair said, walking up to her. Maya smiled, but it was a tired smile. "We did it." The sun was setting as Maya left the airstrip, the sky turning a soft orange. It felt like the end of a long, hard journey, but somehow it felt like the beginning of something new, a new chapter in her life. And this time, she was ready.